Hi everyone, this is Chantel and I'm the artist behind Mirrored Moon Illustrations, and today we're taking a look at my most recent digital painting, Omens Rise. Whenever I first sat down and started working on this sketch, I didn't know that it was going to turn into a finished illustration, but I really liked how it turned out and decided to go with the idea and turn it into something more final. So as you can see on the screen, there's like these vector images that are underneath my sketch layer. That's because I used Adobe Capture and used the image trace to turn it into a vector file so I could more easily import it into Adobe to sketch over it. I worked on the feet a bit. I didn't really like how they were looking, and the raven was seeming a little bit unbalanced. So I changed up the tail and moved it around so that way it didn't look like the raven was going to fall over and fall off the candle. So that about finished up the sketch after I finished up the tail, and then I went ahead and started playing with some color palettes and trying to do some research on what colors I wanted this raven to be. I settled on like a dark purple and orange color palette for this one. I didn't really go into this with any real plan or idea, so I was kind of all over the place, and I had trouble really settling on something because I was just winging it and didn't have a plan on where I wanted to go with it. I also didn't really know how I wanted to illustrate this either. There are so many ways that you can go about completing an illustration in Photoshop, and so I ended up following 1000's tutorial that he has on his channel on how he goes about illustrating his works. His work is so clean and I love the style that he has, so I followed his tutorial on just making all of the colors on one flat layer and then making copies of them to go ahead and add the highlights and shadows above that. I also did some practice and just kind of messed around with some other colors, looked at references on how exactly the candle would be illuminating the raven and how it would affect the colors of the raven's feathers. So after that, I took the magnetic lasso tool, went around and put all the flat colors in. I didn't really know what colors I wanted to use at this point. I was just kind of throwing in colors. You can always change them later. So I was just kind of guessing. I did find a color palette I liked, but I think I kind of deviated from that a bit. So I started highlighting the feet, the beak. I felt like it was starting to really come together at this point, and I liked the color scheme. But then once I got to a point that I liked it, I saved a work in progress and was kind of showing it to my partner, and he took a look at it and said, "Are the feathers supposed to be white?" And at that point, I realized that it didn't really look like the candle was illuminating it. It didn't look like a raven. And I was like, well, shit, I guess I need to really push these colors and try and push the shadows and the highlights and see what I can do to make it really look like the candle is illuminating the raven. So I went ahead and played with the curves, and you're going to see here, this is randomly going to transfer over to a really more dramatic lighting. Right there, it was looking kind of more like a winter raven, and once I pushed those colors a lot more, I think that the style that I was really wanting to go for started to come to life, and I was really starting to be happy with how it was looking. So I love these oranges and these dark blues. I was so excited with how it looked. And then I started coloring the lines. I was wanting to use the lines as more of a way to kind of push the highlights and make it look like the candle was really illuminating the feet and the underbelly of the raven. I started messing with the background, kind of putting in highlights in the background, making it look like the candle was kind of like lit up on a wall. Added some more highlights to the eyes. I didn't really know what I was going to do with the crown at this point. I ended up kind of making it a similar color to like the oranges that you see in the piece of like the beak and the feet. I messed around with it a lot, which you'll see. I had trouble getting to a point that I was happy with it, but I did end up getting there eventually. I really had a lot of fun with this piece. I had just sat down and just started sketching a bird in my sketchbook, and I really liked it. And so I was like, I want to go ahead and take this and see what I can do with it. And I'm really happy with how it came out. I'm actually doing pre-orders right now for a giclee print. I believe that with the colors and the vibrancy of the colors of the raven, the dark blues, the bright oranges, the candle illuminating the feet, I think that a high quality giclee print of this is going to look really, really nice. So I have pre-orders for those open right now. I'm doing 8x10s of the giclee prints for $25. Pre-orders end on February 21st, and then the order for the giclee prints will be placed on the 22nd. take a little bit to receive them because they're going to be shipped to me. I'm going to hand sign all of them and then ship them out. But if you're interested in that, the link to my shop is going to be in the description below if you want to take a look at that and have this really badass looking raven print on your wall. Also, for anyone in the United States who goes ahead and decides they want to own a print of this piece, all domestic shipping is free for this. So make sure that you pre-order and not miss out on the free shipping. It's for the pre-orders only. After that, then the shipping charges will apply to all orders on my shop. Also, if you like videos like this and seeing the time lapse of a completed piece like this, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button down below. It really helps me out and it will make sure that you see similar content like this in the future. I'll be uploading another one here soon of an acrylic commission that I did. So a little bit different than this because it's on a big canvas, but the speed paint is pretty cool. I'm happy with how it came out. I have 2 more of those coming up, so that should be a lot of fun. Can't wait to do it. And I have some other cool projects ahead too, and more digital illustrations that I'm looking forward to getting started on also. So here I messed around with the crown a little bit more, didn't really know what colors and whatnot I wanted to do with it. Made some really crazy hues and some crazy saturation. Kind of looked like somebody tripping on LSD. I ended up going ahead and switching that around. You'll see it switching to my desktop screen because I drag Photoshop from my tablet up to my computer screen to kind of get a different reference of how it looks because both screens look different. So it kind of lets me have a more overall picture of what it looks like. Well, yeah, so that's about it for this one. I just mess around with this crown a little bit more, make a copy of the flats layer, turn it into a shadow, put a blur on it, and then that's about it. I'm really happy with how this piece came out. I think it looks pretty badass. This cool raven with a crown, a ravenous queen. I like it a lot. I think it turned out great. So if, like I said, if you're interested in owning this piece, the pre-orders are now open, $25 in my shop, link in the description below. Like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.